everybody, and welcome into another episode of Dynasty Top Buys presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. I am your host, Todd Hoffman, and today's episode we're going to be going over Donald Parham Jr., the tight end from the Los Angeles Chargers. So the first thing we're going to do is take a peek at his 2020 season stats. You might be wondering why we're going to be doing a Dynasty Top Buy on a tight end that had 20 targets and just 10 receptions last year. But we'll get into that reason. Well, here's the reasoning why. This dude is humongous. If we go over to playerprofiler.com and look, he's 6'8", 240 pounds. Very tall. He's got 35.5-inch arm length, so that's 98th percentile among tight ends. Like 35.5-inch arm length is kind of what you're looking for in offensive tackles to be, towards the elite end for offensive tackles, which you want having that longer reach. He's got 35.5-inch arms as a tight end, which means he's going to be on the field blocking as well, despite his 240-pound frame on that 6'8" body. But this guy can high point balls. We look at his explosion there, his burst score, 129.9, 94th percentile burst score for a tight end. Absolutely can jump and get off the line with the best of them in the tight end class. Above average, obviously, there in the 40-yard dash and the adjusted speed score there. So the guy is fast for a tight end, can jump out of the gym. He's 6'8", has super long arms. This guy's going to be a red zone threat. And I believe going forward with Justin Herbert, it's going to be a very good pair. So let's go look into some stats for the Los Angeles Chargers in 2020 season. They had a 57.4% pass rate, was actually middle of the road, just 16th in the league. However, they had 627 pass attempts last year, which was 5th in the league at 39 per game. For reference, that's one behind the Atlanta Falcons, who had 628 pass attempts, and 3 behind the Kansas City Chiefs at 630. So they had a lot of pass attempts, and they were actually first in plays per game in the league at 68 plays per game. Now, they did have their offensive coordinator leave and go to the Philadelphia Eagles to work with Sirianni there. So the new incoming offensive coordinator is Joe Lombardi. He's been in New Orleans for a long time with Sean Payton, starting back in 2009. That's kind of when the heyday of Jimmy Graham was. And Joe Lombardi wasn't the offensive coordinator or anything there. He was just the quarterback's coach for most of the time that he was there. And that's going to be their new offensive coordinator there in Los Angeles. So are they going to have this elite amount of plays per game? Possibly, maybe not. But I believe they're still going to have quite a few pass attempts. Even if their plays per game goes down, I think the amount that they're going to be passing goes up. This guy's a former quarterback coach. He's going to want to show what he can do with the quarterback there, Justin Herbert. But back into the 2020 stats, we look, Los Angeles Chargers were 17th in the league for tight end targets at 21.3%. But remember, they had a lot of pass attempts. So that's 130 total pass attempts to the Chargers last year, to the tight ends for the Chargers last year. Hunter Henry actually had 93 targets in 2020 for a 65% catch rate there. I think he leaves in free agency, meaning Donald Parham Jr. is going to slide into that experienced tight end role there. I don't see them bringing in another tight end necessarily to compete with him in free agency. Maybe they'll draft another young guy to bring up through the ranks, unless they draft a Pitts or somebody like that for Freiermuth in this upcoming draft. I think Donald Parham's going to see at least 1 year of heavy usage there in Los Angeles. So given that catch rate for Hunter Henry at 65%, I think if he leaves, Parham, he's not going to see the 93 targets that Hunter Henry saw, but Parham I could see easily getting up to about 80 targets in that offense next year. Give him that 65% catch rate, and that's going to give you 52 receptions on the year. Though one other thing about this guy being so explosive and having that speed and athletic ability, he's got a 15.9 yards per reception, with astronomical for a tight end. So we're going to bump that down a little bit, 1 yard per reception, and go in at 15 yards per reception. So with those 52 receptions, that gives him 780 yards. And as we saw in 2020, guy had 10 catches and 3 touchdowns. Justin Herbert did go to him quite a bit in the end zone there. I'm going to go ahead and give him 7 or 8 touchdowns next season as a potential for his 21 season there. So we're looking at a 52 catch, 780 yards, 7 or 8 touchdown season from him. Not blowing the doors off by any means. He's not Travis Kelce, but for a guy that, for his value, you're going to get super cheap. I think you could probably pick him up for a 4th round pick, maybe in a 5th round pick. Just throw him in as an extra in one of your trays. Just, hey, I'll take the Donald Parham off of your hands. Nobody's looking at this guy. He's got 20 targets, 10 receptions last year, so nobody's really looking at this guy. And I think he's able to be had for cheap. And you're going to be looking at that total from last year. That's basically in the Mike Gesicki, Mark Andrews area. They were tight end 6 and 7.5 point PPR last year. So you're looking at a guy that you can get super cheap in Donald Parham Jr. He's potentially going to give you top 8 tight end. Just kind of securing that position for you, and getting a guy that cheap at the tight end position, which is almost a punt position anyway, is something that I'd be looking to do. And that's why he's on this episode of Dynasty Top Buys, presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this one on Donald Parham Jr. If you want more things like this, please give this video a like. Leave some comments on who else you think might be a Dynasty Top Buy. And check back often. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell. Check back often. Get those notifications every time. If you hit that bell, get those notifications when new videos come out. During the off season, we got these Dynasty Top Buys. We'll do a few podcasts, kind of who went where and coaches and players and all that in the off season. We'll cover some of the draft stuff. And then during the season, we're doing a lot of DFS advice. Very successful using my own proprietary metrics. And then besides that, we're also getting a lot of footage out on these guys using NFL Game Pass. So you guys yourself can see who's looking good, who's not. Why are these stats looking good when everybody says the player is bad? Why are people saying the player is good when the stats are bad? You can go in and see these videos that we do during the season, highlighting a lot of these top rookies and 2nd and 3rd year guys so you can make decisions on your own. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Appreciate the view. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Bye.